Hello and welcome to our Storiant webcast. Today we're going to speak a little bit about why a company might choose to adopt object storage. Just as a bit of a reminder, Storiant is a software company, and we make software that allows enterprises and service providers to deploy private and hybrid clouds at public cloud economics. We do that through the use of things like commodity hardware and advanced power management to really help people deploy an enterprise-grade solution at an extremely low total cost of ownership. So there are a couple of reasons why a company or an enterprise might choose to fast-track their adoption of object storage. The first that we're going to talk about today really is ease of access. So easy global access for any application or any device within a company to get access to the same data no matter where they are. So really it helps to eliminate things like copying data from one location to another so that a person in a remote location can have access to data. So we really help reduce copies of data. We present the same data out through this object interface and through other interfaces to a global set of people. So we may have someone in the UK that's accessing data stored in the cloud or in this object store via a RESTful API. We may have someone in Hong Kong that's accessing that same data via NFS or other applications or command line and other things. And then we may have someone in the US that is using Hadoop to, again, access that same data set. So really, it's about maintaining a single data set behind a common namespace. And rather than moving data to the user, granting the user the access to retrieve that data no matter where they are. The next piece that we're going to talk about today is the ease and relatively low expense that object storage has in scaling performance. And so what we're representing here is a 10 gigabit Ethernet data network. We have one, in this case, Storiant rack sitting on that 10 gigabit Ethernet network. That rack can stream data into and out of the Storiant solution at about 1.6 gigabytes per second to the applications that are storing and retrieving that data. If that 1.6 gigabytes per second is not sufficient, or if you run out of capacity within that rack, really it's as simple as adding additional nodes. Those additional nodes very easily become part of the global Storiant object solution. They all are accessible, again, behind that common namespace. And with the simple addition of a little bit of additional hardware, we've essentially, in this case, tripled our ability to transfer data. And so we've got triple the amount of data and also triple the transfer speeds. So really, as we add storage to the solution, the performance scales linearly with that storage expansion. Third on our list today is that object storage and Storiant really provide interfaces for any application or use case. Those interfaces, in our case, include a couple of different RESTful APIs. One is OpenStack Swift. Another is Amazon's S3. So RESTful API would be when an application is actually performing puts and gets through an HTTP REST API. We also provide client libraries, and those are available in a number of different languages, including Java and Python and ASP and others, to allow people who want to build applications an easy way to do that. So if someone's writing a Java application, they would use our Java client library. And we really provide in those software libraries all the things that are needed to push data into and retrieve data from the Storiant solution. We also have some direct integration with Hadoop for MapReduce. And so that is essentially allowing, again, through those REST APIs, there's an adapter essentially that will allow people to perform MapReduce directly against data stored in Storiant. We provide NAS gateway, and that supports NFS and CIFS for legacy application compatibility. And then we do a lot of direct integration work with third-party applications. The one I have represented here is Enterprise Vault from Symantec. We are a direct primary storage target for Enterprise Vault, so it's very easy to adopt the Storiant solution into an environment that's using Enterprise Vault. The fourth reason I'm going to talk about today is flexible metadata. That really becomes important in an object solution and in the Storiant solution in particular. And so what I have represented here is a computer that's pushing data through that RESTful API into the Storiant solution. What makes us a little bit different is that we're going to separate the object and the metadata. A number of object stores will actually store the metadata for an object as part of the object itself in extended file attributes on the underlying file system. We've taken a different route. So we're going to store the object itself on an OpenZFS file system. And the metadata for that object is actually going to get stored in a real database, a NoSQL database called Cassandra. That gives us a couple of things. It allows us to do very easy database-related things, set policies around the object metadata. So we can do things like compliance, policy-based deletions, meaning you can set a delete date when you actually put something into the system, so it sort of auto cleans up, as those dates are met. It also offers very easy reporting, again, because the metadata lives in a real underlying database, and it's extremely flexible. So we can just simply create additional fields for additional metadata that we want to include, or the metadata that comes in with an object can be dynamic. So if you were storing medical images, for example, you could very easily put client name and the description of what's in the X-ray or the medical image, and store that with the image itself as part of the metadata, and you can come back and query that later. The next thing here is public cloud economics. So we build our system. It's designed to have an extremely low total cost of ownership, and we do that in a couple of different ways. One is through the use of commodity hardware, and specifically desktop disk drives. We also have a very active power management. In our solution, about 80 to 90% of the drives are actually spun down and not running at any given time. We have lower maintenance on the software, and by disaggregating the hardware from the software, we allow people to have lower maintenance on the hardware portion of the solution as well. And then we have a reduced footprint through extreme density. What all that adds up to really is a total cost of ownership of less than a penny a gigabyte per month. And so again, that goes back to what people hear from the public cloud providers. That sort of is a threshold, a penny a gig a month. For things like Amazon Glacier, we're well below that particular threshold. Next, object stores and Storiant in particular really support multi-tenancy right out of the box. We do that by spreading data across the drives and the enclosures. So the drives themselves are not dedicated to one individual business unit or customer. As the objects come in from different accounts, they actually get intermingled within the object store itself, and then they're categorized by account within that Cassandra database. So it's really the metadata about an object that associates it with the account that placed that object, and it really does support full multi-tenancy. What that means for an end user is that chargeback is finally easy. In a traditional system, a SAN or a NAS-based solution, chargeback and showback and user level reporting has been very difficult. And so in our solution, it's very easy, and we even provide a RESTful API for account-specific user information, role management, and reporting. And the last thing here, I think, is that current technologies, or the second to last, is that current technologies really make it fast and cheap to build these next generation storage systems. We have things now like 10 and 40 gigabit Ethernet that is being widely adopted, and the price points really have dropped on those. We have 6 and now 12 gigabit SAS connections. So when we connect a bunch of disk enclosures to a server through 6 and 12 gig SAS, and we get multiple SAS channels going, the performance really is very good. We have very inexpensive multi-core CPUs, so the servers themselves have become much more powerful, even as the cost of those servers have dropped. And then we really are getting into ultra-dense disk enclosures. So we actually support, from a company called EchoStreams, a 4U 96 drive SAS connected disk enclosure. So those are just some of the reasons that people really are beginning to look and should tend to fast track their adoption of object storage. If you'd have any feedback you'd like to share or you'd like any more information about our product or our company, please visit us at info.storiant.com/webinars. Thanks so much and have a great day.